So let's get into tonight, Friday. It's been a busy week. I'm going to talk about how busy it's been and the impact on us in our you know ourself. You know, um, we'll get to that at the end. But first topic I want to cover is what's going on in the Supreme Court with tariffs. Had a bit of a problem sleeping last night, so I was going through the oral hearings the audio of the oral hearings in the Supreme Court, and a couple of the interactions were actually quite interesting. And it's kind of I don't like I'm not like a hyper studier of the Supreme Court. I just when big things are going on, and I kind of get the feel that this may be a big change in the way governance works, or stopping an overreach of the executive. I get interested in those because those are the ones that really turn the vector. Hey, we were going this direction. Now we're going to have to change because, the court put their foot down. And a couple of the interesting observations I had in this tariff arguments is, wow, Gorish is not buying the tariffs. Now, before I get into how Gorish reacted, let's break down a little bit of what this case is and what this case is not. Okay. If you're enjoying libations on a Friday happy hour, I'm doing rye over ice with a beer back this evening. Salute. Happy happy hour. Happy happy hour in the happy holidays. Okay. So what this case is a specific condition within the bank of tariffs and tariff actions available to the executive, to the president. What this case is actually trying to redefine properly what the proper breakdown between the three branches of government. Article 1, legislation, Congress. Article 2, the executive and the president. Article 3, the judiciary and SCOTUS. Okay. Who takes what actions legally? That's what this case is really about. It's not about, oh my God, that tariff was 1.5% too high, according to whomever. That's not what this case is about. There are certain tariffs, no matter how this court decides, are going to be untouched. Okay. This is only about, I don't know, rough back of envelope numbers. This is only about like a third of the president's tariff powers. That's what's really up to debate here. It's not a sweeping thing where, oh no tariffs can ever be implied by the president. You're not going to get this out of this case nor this Supreme Court. Okay. Things like sanctioning Iran for technology, they're not going to touch. Okay, we don't want Iran getting nuclear technology, specifically more technology that helps them operate enrichment machinery for nuclear industrial processes, including power plants and nuclear weapons. We just don't want them to have that. It's reasonable for any president, even though I don't like this one, it is reasonable for any president to try to contain Iran's nuclear ambitions. Now, it's a huge mistake with Trump. He wants to give Saudi Arabia nuclear ambitions and help them get there. I think that's a regional mistake in the Middle East, Persia. We don't need to be adding fuel to the fire, especially when the fire is going to be uranium and plutonium. So you're never going to see the court. You're never going to see even Thomas or Alito turn around and go, oh, no, you can't sanction Iran's nuclear program. That's not happening. Also, what's not happening is the fentanyl type public emergency, public health type tariffs. Is it reasonable to tariff the people we know that are involved in the precursor trade for fentanyl in China? And is it appropriate to go after the gangs and possibly some of the financiers and politicians that do the manufacturing of the fentanyl in Mexico. Yeah, the court's not going to touch anything to do with public safety, public health, and terrorists. It's not unreasonable. Like, I don't care if it was LBJ, Reagan, Truman, Reagan, Obama. Doesn't matter. Okay, it's probably proper and probably well within the presidential's authority to try to mitigate public health harm they know that's coming from a known criminal entity or a known criminal threat. So those aren't being touched either. And that it simply won't be by this decision. What this decision is trying to do is straighten out Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. The judges, the president, Congress, the president, then judges. That's the order the founding fathers put it in. Madison was an extraordinarily smart guy, incredibly smart for his era, like a lot of the other founding fathers, especially Ben Franklin. You heard me talk about him before. Benjamin Franklin was an actual polymath genius, an incredibly intelligent, learned, and aware for his era. So when they signed on to build the Constitution, putting Congress first to make the law. Why? You don't want the king, the lord, the duke making the law. Okay. Article 2 is you got to have somebody actuate the law. Someone has to be in charge of the practice of the function of the law. That's why Article 2, in that order, is the president and the executive branch. Article 3 is the adjudication of the law. Okay, so you get it written, you get it executed, and you get it adjudicated in that order. Okay, which kind of puts the executive branch in this really strong barriered, on both sides of the presidency. It's a very barriered system. The president cannot legislate, nor can the president adjudicate. Okay, that was very, very intentional by the founding fathers. And I think, like, when Gorish goes after the Solicitor General or the Solicitor General's office, I don't know who actually was standing there in the court. It was just the audio. I didn't see the video. They don't have video, unfortunately. I recognize the voice because he's got this really raspy voice, and I think that is the Solicitor General or like the assistant, because I keep hearing his voice over and over. So Gorish goes, and I'm paraphrasing here. Do you understand what the fucking definition of revenue is? Revenue. Government declares a fee for a process, a tax, and then it takes in money. That's a revenue. Okay? Again, the founding fathers weren't a bunch of silly people. They weren't unlearned. They weren't unread. They were very, very smart for their era. Okay? And Madison goes, I remember how feudal France used to work. I know how British monarchy works. I don't want it working here this way. Okay. And I gotta go back and refresh my memory. I had this whole period years ago where I was reading through the actual letters of the founding fathers, and I have several books in my library. Like, I have all of Ben Franklin's letters because he's my fave. I gotta go back and reread some of those because it really speaks to what they were discussing, what they understood, and what their real intent were on a list of subjects. So I think when Gorish has to ask multiple times, do you understand, like, one, do you own an Oxford dictionary? Can we get that answer? Okay. Do you know how to look up the definitions of words? Why do I have to ask you 3 times what revenue means? Now, this isn't the first time this Supreme Court has smacked Trump's hand. Knock it off. Trump tried to pass his own law. Okay. His intent, I think, was correct, believe it or not, but he really royally screwed the pooch when he just decided to declare that bump stocks were illegal. The automatic triggering systems that allow the recoil of the gun to re-hit the trigger. It was the type of add-on that was used to the carbines, um, assault weapons that were used in Las Vegas at the country concert, where the guy stood in the hotel window and just sprayed ammunition down onto the crowd, killing and injuring scores of people. Um, Trump reacted to that immediately and said, "Oh, I'm banning bump stocks." No, he should have called the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem in the Senate and said, "Hey, we need a law that I can sign that bans bump stocks." A law, even though I do not like the NRA. I do not like the gun lobby. I'm not that kind of gun owner. But those guys are gun fetishists, and I've written about this before. Read the essays where I actually call them a gun fetish. Call these people out as gun fetishists. Even though I've been a gun owner for 45 years. Okay, I consider myself a very responsible gun owner. I don't believe in the over-the-counter sales of military-style weapons. And I don't think civilians should have automatic weapons. And that's been the law since the Prohibition 100 years ago. Ronald Reagan remade again weapons that could automatically fire. He banned them again in the drug laws of the early 1980s. So it's very, very clear under statute that automatic weapons should not be in the hands of civilians, short a federal class 3 license, which requires licensing, background checks, insurance, some cases a mental health evaluation. If you qualify for a federal 3 license and you meet all the requirements plus insurance, then my problem with somebody having an automatic weapon goes way down. But Trump tried to make a law. He said, "Oh, I think bump stocks should be illegal, so I'm going to just say they're illegal." That's not within the authority of the president, and the Supreme Court totally smacked them down. And for the right reason. It's not within Article 2 powers of the president to legislate. The legislative powers are in Article 1. Okay, just like the revenue generation is exclusively not just Article 1, Congress, the legislative branch, but it's exclusively with the House. All spending must arise in the House. That's what it says. That's what the big document says. Okay, so he can't pass laws. He can't generate revenue. So here comes this tariff case, and Gorish is going, "Why don't you understand the definition of revenue?" I mean, it seems to be a simple word. It simply means raising money or generating income. And you are in fact trying to generate income, and you have there's a tab open to Trump's True Social, so you don't have to do it. And I keep track of the crazy bastard. Okay, I see what he puts up. I read what he puts up. Okay, he is so proud that he has taken American taxpayers for nearly $200 billion and what is turning out on the courts to be an unconstitutional tax scheme. Who doesn't like it the most? Gorish, who if you've noticed is not a liberal. Okay, but he is a guy that's like, what does the Constitution say? Now, how do we remedy what it says to what we need to do now? Okay, and what we need to do now is easy. It seems to be easy with several of the justices. It's like, instead of just going crazy and deciding it's reciprocal tax day, and deciding that you are now the House of Representatives generating the revenue, why didn't you just go to Congress? I mean, Trump keeps claiming he has the House on a string. He is the puppet master. Congress is the marionette. He exudes this feeling in his rallies. Again, I watch his rallies, so you don't have to. He puts up charts on True Social saying, "Look how much money I am generating." Then the Solicitor General goes to not just court, but goes to the Supreme Court. Okay, and goes, "No, we're not generating revenue." And Gorish is just sitting there going, "What?" Do you not know what a simple English word means? This is quite facile. Your entire argument is facile. But realize in their own way, only in the most generic sense do we have a 6-3 court. Okay, there's a lot of overlap going on, and that includes from the more liberal justices. Okay, because it was funny how Sotomayor was like on the line, Gorish was on, and then they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? What do you mean you can charge a tax out of the White House, out of the Oval Office by proclamation? Taxes must be established in the House. They must be ratified and voted on in the Senate, and they must be signed into law by the president. That's always been the process." Okay. And anybody that has fucking watched Schoolhouse Rock knows this. Okay. We need to reboot Schoolhouse Rock. Like, I'm being told there's liberal billionaires out there. Hey, and there are. Like, we got Tom Steyer in the city. Dude, why don't you finance a cool production house of some ground level troops in art, animation, and design, and go publish a new version, an updated version of Schoolhouse Rock with the same educational, energy that the original series has, which, by the way, I have on DVD, and I used to have on VHS, but my kids literally burned out the VHS. We had to rebuy it on DVD. But yeah, I still have Schoolhouse Rock on media. So the courts are going to come down, and I don't think the Solicitor General's arguments flew with only but a couple of the justices. And I don't think they were like, "Oh yeah, they're correct." I think they were like, "Yeah, this may be permissible if we want to stretch it." Everybody else on the court's going, have you ever read the Federalist Papers? Do you know who Hamilton was? Do you understand what Madison, Jefferson, Franklin, and all those, John Jay, were doing when they created the Constitution and they separated these three branches of government? You are literally trying, and this is not the only case they're trying to do this, is they're trying to absorb all the power of government into Article 2, into the executive branch's power. And that's where the judges, I think the light bulb's going off. They're going like, because everybody's a little bit biased to their own self-preservation. So I think the justices are in that self-preservation mode, and they're going, hey, wait a minute. If we keep going down this road, because they've got to see this in a parallel to the pardons. Trump's literally pardoning people before they even get to court now. Okay. Including crimes that you could say are constitutional crimes. Bribery is in the document. Bribery is the big no-no, the big criminal no-no as a politician in the Constitution. So the justices have to be sitting there going like, okay, I see what you're doing to Congress. You're trying to take their Article 1 powers, and you're trying to legislate not just tariffs, but you have a habit of trying to legislate shit on the fly. That's not within your purview nor your authority. Okay. Now the justices are sitting there, and I think including people like Gorish and Comey Barrett, definitely Jackson and Sotomayor, and maybe a little Roberts, because he's most of the problem on the court, believe it or not. They're looking at this going, are you trying to usurp our power too? I think that's why you got that confrontation where Gorish was just not going to have overly reductive answers as a response to his questions. And my wife and I were talking about this because I was listening to some of the oral hearing tape on YouTube on the Forbes channel while I was helping with dinner, and I had it up so I could hear it in the kitchen. And my wife commented, and I immediately agree with her totally, is we like the format of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can ask any question they fucking want. Okay. They don't find facts. They just determine constitutionality. They're not a typical court. They are a constitutional court. Okay. So that gives them a lot of breath to go through a lot of winding question-based issue, legality, precedent discovery, and they get to mix and feel out what everybody's theories are, whether it's the Solicitor General or a state attorney general, a responding plaintiff, a friend of the court. What are those called? Amicus briefs. That's when people are interested in the court case and they want to get their opinion in front of the justices. Um, One of the best examples of a friend of the court brief was Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson, king of late night TV, and he ends up spending, I think, like $1 million of his own money as a friend of the court. He told his lawyers, "Go ape shit. I'll pay you whatever you want. Here, boom, bank of money. Go get him." And it was for the funniest reason. It was for the Larry Flint versus Jerry Falwell case. For people who don't remember, we've already been through this conservative shit show. When conservatives decide not to be conservatives, and conservatism is a school of thought. Okay. It isn't what's being presented today by the right wing house, the far right cranks, Trump himself. That's not conservatism. That's nationalism. Okay. So when you have this, break from conservatism, then you've got a lot of people are going, "Hey, wait a minute. Are we going somewhere we shouldn't be going?" So the courts really get to explore in depth basically any avenue they want to take. And that's why you get, like, for instance, Jackson. She likes to talk during the hearings and express her opinions. Sotomayor, who's done this before, she'll give a dissent from the bench. She'll give an oral dissent, and she'll give you a piece of her mind on why we're fucking this up. Okay. Gorish handles it a different way. He'll go after the attorneys. Okay. I understand it's a little different, for every justice, the way they handle it. Sometimes they, ask very plain questions. They really don't get into it, but they will get into it when they go into the bank hearing, where they all get into the room and they sort it out as justices about what the majority opinion is going to be. Some justices, that's their place to go ape shit. They'll go after the other justices. Why are you thinking it this way? Okay, I understand it's very professional, but they will go, "Hey, wait a minute. What can you possibly talking about in reference to this precedent? You've got to clarify it for me." And they literally sit there, with, tea or coffee or whatever they're in for their morning beverage, and they literally go round and round and round and round trying to figure it out. Okay. So I think the court is in sort of this self-defense mode. They really don't want to see a president turn into a king, because that means they're out of a job too. And it's pretty obvious that dear leader porn star Humper has a mushroom dick hard on, as according to Stormy Daniels, for Congress. He literally thinks Congress should be shoved aside. Okay. And you can see it because some of the far right cranks on their YouTube podcasts and on other platforms, they're starting to talk about how the House was a mistake. We should only have the Senate, which, again, if you think that's true, you've never read the Founding Fathers. There's a people's house, and then there is an upper house. Okay. And yeah, the upper house has some flaws, especially when you take it into the context of slavery and the robber barons and just power, wealth, control, and all that. But they actually honestly tried to mitigate that by splitting up Congress into two distinct chambers. So I definitely would keep an eye on what is going on in the tariff case, because the tariffs are actually the minor issue. It's what does Article 1, 2, and 3 mean day to day when we have governance that is being ramshotted by an overzealous executive branch. And I think you're going to see some self-preservation language be put into the majority decision about how the executive can be restrained when the executive has clearly exceeded their powers. Now, many people don't realize this because they look at other cases and they see, well, this is just a tax case. No, this is a presidential powers case. This is a separation of power, co-equal branch of government case. And if Trump loses this case, and by the way, I'll make this very clear today, Trump is not running the country. Dear leader is a dementia patient, narcissist, halfway into a coma, half asleep. Every time I look at a clip, he's asleep and drooling. Ross Vaught and Stephen Miller are the de facto co-presidents. JD Vance is window dressing. Okay. Steve Bannon has more power than JD Vance. Okay. So dear leader is not actually running the country. Yeah. So, but is dear leader going to get pissed when the Supreme Court tells him he doesn't have this power? Oh, he's going to blow a fucking gasket. He is going to nut up in a new and special way. Okay. And you will see him insult the court members personally, not just the women on the court. He's already gone after Comey Barrett, but you're going to see some vulgar, possibly profane, definitely untoward and ungentlemanly comments toward the court, because I think there's about a 96% chance that not only is he going to lose this case, he's going to lose it like 7-2, 8-1. Not for the reasons why people think. Judiciary wants to protect the judiciary. That's what it's coming down to. And they understand the flaw, because here's the real deal with Trump action. Imagine if you got not an AOC, maybe not even an Uncle Bernie, but you got a true leftist as president. Could that president tariff every gallon of gas, diesel, and heavy fuel to protect the climate because the climate is in an emergency? Could a far left president just say, hey, I'm going to declare an emergency now, and the emergency is the atmosphere and the long-term climate. I am going to ban this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to put a 150% tariff on a gallon of gasoline, whether it's imported or it's domestically created. Any heavy, dirty fuel, we're going to, have another exorbitant tariff tax on it. Gasoline is bad is because we have so many cars, and that's just a volume problem. The dirtiest fuel, if you guys haven't seen what ships are fueled by, the shipping behemoth that come across the Pacific and the Atlantic, they use something closer to bitumen than diesel fuel. Like, their fuel is so thick and so dirty, it creates its own weather in the traffic lanes because there's so many particulates and pollutants, nitric oxide, sulfur oxide. This isn't fuel like you and I understand it normally. The shipping fuel is basically more like a thick jello. You can actually cut it with a tool and throw it in the furnace. You've actually got to fire in natural gas or butane into the fuel to get it started. It can't burn on itself. You got to get the fuel container, the combustion changer, so hot that when you drop this semi-solid fuel in, it will start to burn. Okay, but it's so energy dense. It's dirty AF, but it's so energy dense. Yeah, that's what, and it's the cheaper form of fuel because it's literally the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the storage vessel. It's all the hard carbon fuel. It's super dirty. Yeah, if you got somebody who's going to be, Superman of the environmentalists, they could turn around and say that fuel's illegal. Well, if I can't make it illegal, I'll put 1,000% tax on it, making it unaffordable to use. That would essentially shut down shipping. Okay. They literally can't afford to ship things using clean fuel. So when the Supreme Court's looking at this case, they're going, hey, do we want the next president flip the ideology 180 degrees? Do you want them making proclamations and taxing literally whatever they want for any made up emergency they want to declare. Okay. Because you can't say fentanyl is the emergency that Dear Leader is claiming. Is it a problem? Is it a criminal problem? Yes. Is it a national security threat? No. It's just a threat to the people who happen to get their hands on the drug if it's mixed wrong in the wrong concentration. This is much better than the Hollywood, Michael Bay scenarios. There's a ship with a dirty bomb that's rolling toward Los Angeles. We have to stop it. I have to declare an emergency. Okay. I have to invoke the war powers and the National Defense Act. Okay. Hey, there's a dirty bomb coming into Long Beach. Yeah, I'd stop that if I were you. Okay. That's quite a different scenario than, hey, drugs exist. Even powerful drugs like fentanyl. Okay. So watch this space. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I don't think it's going to go well for the administration. And watch for just a little hair on fire responses when they lose this authority. Because you can't, because it's just on its face value. I know there's a bigger question. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's a bigger question about Article 1, 2, and 3. But just when you take the core of how the tariffs are being implemented, he's just literally waking up, spinning the wheel and going, oh, you get a spin the other wheel, 90% tariff. Why? Because I woke up and I felt like that. That's not how the government should be acting under the Administrative Procedures Act. Okay, that's a post-Nixon law that says they basically have to follow procedures, do things for real reasons. They can't be arbitrary and capricious. Okay, and they have to do things that make fucking sense. Okay, that's the exact opposite of Dear Leader's methodology. He literally wakes up and it's tariff lotto, depending on the morning, depending on his mood, depending on the last evil fuck who whispered in his ear. Okay, and again, Dear Leader ain't running the show. He's the figurehead. That scares the hell out of me. Next thing we want to talk about. Oh yeah. This was weird. Kristi Noem, head of Department of Homeland Security, basically did what Homeland Security was initially created for, except they didn't have the balls to do it this way under Bush. DHS was always about creating an American Stasi. For those who don't know who the Stasi were the secret police of East Germany. They were total assholes. They literally had no rules. They could surveil anybody. They could arrest anybody. They could detain anybody for any reason. They were so evil. They used to put parts of clothing and kept samples of writings in mason jars. So if they had to go find this person again in East Berlin or, Dresden or wherever they were looking for a person, they could send the dogs, they could send the bloodhounds and the shepherds after them because they would already have their scent in storage. It was the first first mass surveillance attempt. In fact, when they passed the post 9/11 laws, Wolfgang Schmidt, the former leader, the Colonel Wolfgang Schmidt of the former leader of the Stasi, said, "This is what we wished this is what we always wished we had." Total ability to electronically surveil anybody we wanted in East Germany. So when Noem shows up to Congress and everybody on that panel in the committee, regardless of what party they're in, they know Noem is purposely doing illegal and unconstitutional things because that's what the real leaders of America right now, Ross Flott and Stephen Miller, told her to do. Okay. She knows her agents are committing aggravated battery with chemical agents. If you saw the video from Minnesota, this woman's just walking down the street doing nothing. Stop the car, pepper spray her 6-7 times, laugh at her, get back in the car and drive away. No arrest. Okay. She knows they're doing it. She knows they literally committed contempt of court in the Abrego Garcia case. They know they're lying about deportations. It's not about deportations. It's about prison camps. You can't build hundreds of thousands of bed spaces, cell space, etc., torture boxes, and say the motivation is to deport the people. No, you're housing them at the highest possible expense to the American taxpayer. So you can have a nationalist flex how tough you are. Okay. Now, who does this ingratiate? All the circle of orbit of Dear Leader, all the campaign contributors, not just of Dear Leader, but of Ron DeSantis, of Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton. Whoever's in their orbit is making money now. Okay. Of course, we'll spend $1 billion with you to house the dangerous felons. Then the DHS, Noem's office, released a data sheet on how many people had prior felony arrests or convictions while being in the United States without the proper paperwork. 3.2% of the people they've arrested have felonies. 3.2%. Everybody else in custody were literally just swept off the streets in Stasi raids while they're being abused, beaten, threatened, tortured. Yes, and sometimes aggravated assault and attempted murders. Okay. I've been saying for years, and I've said this when I wore a blue uniform. If you just start shooting at a moving car and they're not literally shooting at you, you're fucking this up. You do not shoot at moving vehicles with a pistol. If you think you can stop a moving pistol, energy to energy with a pistol bullet, you actually haven't learned no mechanical physics in your fucking life. Okay. A car moving at 40 miles an hour produces, an average sedan produces about 500,000 foot-pounds. A 9mm produces about 1,000 foot-pounds right out of the barrel. Okay. If you think you can stop a 500,000 foot-pound energy with 1,000-pound foot energy, you're what I call a fucking moron. Okay. But what is DHS and ICE doing left and right? Oh my God, you didn't follow our verbal commands. We're right back to what we blocked the local police from doing this generation. Stop executing in the people in the street because you're making up the threat scenario. The drunk, the DUI, literally just put it in drive and try to drive away because he's shit-faced and he doesn't even realize you're talking to him. Okay? I've had that happen to me 10 times. Okay? You don't reach into the vehicle while the vehicle's moving. That's how you get your ass dragged down the road or the highway. You don't open fire on the goddamn vehicle because that's completely unsafe and fucking stupid. The only exception to shooting at a moving vehicle is when they're already have opened fire on you. Just like the military, you cannot engage until you have been engaged. You know, Jesus, working for the military, police, and CID, if we would have started shooting somebody because they moved a vehicle, I would have gone to military prison. Okay, so we all know what Noem's been up to. So Noem shows up to this hearing, and she has just got this fuck you superiority attitude the minute she walks into the room. I don't have to be here. I don't have to answer to you. Then she starts answering the question with language that literally sounds like Dear Leader is speaking himself in the same arrogant, dismissive, angry, fuck off and die tone they're famous for. Okay. Then in the middle of the hearing, she just stands up and walks out of the fucking room. I'm sorry. Anybody that's in here now, Jan, Sandy, Christian, Mary, hello, everybody. Happy Friday night. Jim, Judy, hi, everybody. Can you imagine getting subpoenaed to go into a hearing in Congress and you just look at your watch and go, I'm busy. I'm bouncing. Okay. I guarantee you that committee chairperson and the ranking member are going to refer you to the Department of Justice for contempt of Congress, and you are going to go to jail for 6 months. I guarantee that would happen to a working stiff. But you've got Nazi Princess Noem, who doesn't have to answer to anybody because she doesn't serve a president. She serves an empirical king who makes all the decisions under Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. Because in the immigration process, again, go back to what I was just talking about in the Supreme Court and tariffs. They're literally telling the judiciary no due process can be declared in immigration cases. Why? the imperial presidency, the John Woo bullshit under Bush, if you remember, W, okay, the fucking asshole from Berkeley. Oh, the president's a king who can make any decision he wants because I'm a right-wing lawyer and I'm going to just write a memo and give the president ultimate powers that can't be reviewed. Because all we got to do is go, ollie, ollie, oxen free, national security, we're at war. I have wartime authority. See, they all want FDR's authority in World War II, but they don't actually want to declare war because they know what happens to the stock market the second they do. They know what happens to investment, home sales. Manufacturing will shift. Products will disappear. Why? Because we're fighting a war, just like World War II. So Noem walks in being the absolute smuggest bitch you've ever seen. She makes Kim Kardashian on crack cocaine look sane. Okay? She walks into that hearing and just goes, I don't have to be here. I don't have to answer your question. Whatever you're feeling or asking me, I don't care. Unless you're going to kiss my ass like several Republicans did. Unless you're literally on your knees and you got a butt cheek and you got your lips attached to it. She doesn't have to deal with you whatsoever because my God King dictator told me I am unanswerable to everybody but him. That's not the legal system or the governance system in the United States of America. Then the crazy bitch stands up in the middle, the chair, gave the floor to a Democrat. Ma'am, from whatever state she's from, it's your 5 minutes. She bounces up out of her chair, whoop, looks at everybody. Her entire entourage gets up, like fucking 11, 12 people, and they all just walk out of the room, ignoring everything that's coming out of the committee's mouths. And the woman who was just given the floor, she's like, take it. She doesn't want to answer any of my questions. Again, I guarantee you working slob, get subpoenaed to Congress, and you just get up and walk out of the hearing going, screw you, bitches. You're going to end up in federal court. But Noem has no fear of ending up in federal court because they could have literally called a sergeant at arms and detained her and immediately referred her to the attorney general. Is the attorney general, Palm Bondi, going to deal with Kristi Noem? No. No. Okay. It's just not happening. Noem's in the street gang. Pam Bondi's in the street gang. Homies don't go after each other in the street gang. So they know she can just walk up. They can refer to DOJ. Pam Bondi is just going to drop the paperwork on the floor and go, fuck you. No, didn't happen. Noem knew this. She just stands up, walks out of the room like, I'm superior. I don't answer to anybody except Trump. And again, she's not answering to Trump. She's answering to Ross Vaught and Stephen Miller, people who are really running the country. Okay. Now, that's especially scary because if Congress doesn't have any oversight, that means there's no control on how the law is being executed. Now, if the people of the House, regardless of party, aren't really concerned about that issue, they're absolute fools. Now, the problem is Congress has been on this trend for at least 20 years. Most people who get elected to Congress, their biggest achievement ever while they're in Congress is getting reelected. They don't pass laws. Even when they claim to pass laws, they pass frameworks, pass it over to the executive branch, the agency, and have them write the law that gets implemented. That's happened time and time again, and several times the Supreme Court has come down and said, no. Okay, you have to give them the framework to run on. They can't make up their own framework because you said, okay, this is the topic. Now write your law and regulation, do whatever you want. Madison did not have that in mind. when he wrote the Constitution. None of the justices think, maybe with the exception of maybe Thomas or Alito, just for ideological and suck up purposes, because they're de facto members of the street gang too. They don't want a situation again, just like Trump trying to write the bump stock law. They don't want laws not written by Congress. But over the past 20 years, what is Congress really there for? They're in there for the campaign donations, which, like I talked about the other day in the live video, they scrape for their own personal needs. They steal money from their campaign donations to pay them themselves and their bills, or they make up an LLC like the guy from Texas did. That's why he's bailing Nellis. Talked about that in detail in the last video, a couple of videos ago, that he's bailing because he's got an ethics issue, because he's shaved $30,000 out of his campaign funds, paid his own LLC at his home address to pay his own bills. Okay. They're there for the con. They're there for the campaign, the money that comes in from the campaign donations, the trips and the graft and the corruption provided by campaign donors once they're in office. Lobbyists buying them everything from dinners and drinks to expensive vacations labeled as fact-finding missions. They're vacations paid for by lobbyists under a guise of a political issue. Okay. Or they're simply politically campaigning, like the trip the right wingers took to Germany to meet with the German Nazis, the AfD. Okay. Action for Deutschland is a fucking Nazi organization. Okay. And I'm not throwing stones again. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not doing that. I'm literally telling you, AfD are Nazis, just like the what is it called? Liberty Front, Le Pen's organization in France. She's a fucking Nazi. Okay. Stephen Miller, Ross Vought, Tim Pool, Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes, Steve Bennett. They're Nazis. So when they send all the Nazis over to meet with the other Nazis, it's just a political confab. It has nothing to do with policy. Okay. But yeah, they can take expensive trips, stay at 4 and 5-star hotels on the lobbyist dime. Nothing happens to them. Then they get to insider trade. They go into a committee hearing. They get that private, unpublic information. They immediately run to their desk, open up their personal laptop, open up their TD Ameritrade account. Boom, trade on insider information, make bank. Everybody in their brother does it. There was a video of a Republican sitting in the committee hearing. He's trading the stock of the company they're talking about in real time at his position in the hearing from wherever he was seated. I forget if he was in the committee seat or he was out in the main body, but yeah, he's sitting there trading stocks of the fucking company they're talking about in real time. It's on a screen. Photographer AP goes click, click, click. There it is. Boom. He's literally doing it. And a side note to the congressional hearings, I should go find this video and post it in notes. The bald clown from the FBI. Well, we've started our investigation. Bernie Thompson from Mississippi, I think it is. I like that guy. Real smart man. He just starts asking questions like, how are you defining Antifa as a terrorist organization? So Mr. Bald, special agent, assistant deputy director of whatever, comes up and goes, oh, yeah, this is, we're handling this just like it's Al Qaeda or ISIS. Yeah, bro. Antifa, bro. ISIS. Yeah, man. Okay, calm down. What evidence do you have Antifa is an organized system like, let's say, ISIS? Well, it's early in the investigation and we're still figuring it out. Wait a minute. That's not what you said just 20 seconds ago. 20 seconds ago, you had an active terrorist group mounting an attack against the United States of America. Then you followed up with this, we're figuring it out. But oh my God, bro, they're a terrorist group, bro. We're in trouble, man. World War III, man. Somebody disagreed with your leader. Oh my God, we're at war. Okay. Where's Antifa's headquarters? Who are their leaders? Oh man, we're trying to figure that out, man. But they're a threat. We need to go to war. Against whom? We don't know. If we were to attack Antifa, where would we go? I don't know. Okay, as a guy who did this for a living, tracking down real criminal organizations, yes, that's what I did with over 3 years of my life. Okay, in Europe and in America. Okay, I can tell you very honest and very clearly, drop the partisan horseshit and just speak to what we really do. Okay, we just don't go, dartboard. You know, you take up your refrigerator magnets of all the words in the news of the last year or few years, whatever. You put them all up on a dartboard, and you throw a dart, and it hits one of those magnet words, and you pull it off the dartboard, and you read it and go, "I found the new terrorist group." Yeah, bro. That's nothing to do with anything. This is just silly marketing. Like, we got into an op because two different sections gave us a report through the courier system. There's regional offices all over Europe and in West Germany where I was. Um, so we were in Mainz, but we got reports from both Wiesbaden and Rüsselsheim. And this wasn't guys like me, the sergeants. These were the commissioned officer agents. These were the captains. Okay, they're cops. You know, they carry a badge. They go around as special agent so and so, but they're commissioned officers. They're captains. They're majors, and they do police intelligence for us. We're the guys out at night trying to find out what's going on in the street, and we funnel up all this information. They put it together from German sources, Interpol, allies like in Belgium and France, Italy. And they put it all together and they kind of try to figure out who are the big players and who we should be concentrating on when we head out at night. Okay. So we got a communique. And one of our senior agents in the office hit my team chief, he was a W1 at the time. So, you know, you got to put in charge of the drug team and the surveillance team. So he comes in with a packet to our office and he goes, "Hey, this is for you guys." And it identified a bunch of African immigrants and Turkish immigrants who were not just selling like hashish, which was super popular and still is in Germany. Hashish is as common as beer in Germany. It's everywhere. Like if you can't find hashish in Germany, you just haven't asked. It's like finding cocaine in Britain. You just haven't asked. It's all over the place. But they weren't just selling hashish, which is kind of like a commander's problem. You get caught smoking, you know, cannabis. Hash is just a concentrated form of THC. It's just a different form of cannabis. We didn't care about cannabis. We cared about hard drugs and the violence and the gang organizations behind the trafficking of the hard drugs. So these guys weren't just dealing hashish. They were dealing hashish in up to kilo quantities, and they were also dealing cocaine and other stuff. And we had names, we had location. That he needed somebody to go in undercover and see if we could actually see if these guys were real. So we got the reports and we drove to the train station because the sort of the immigrant barracks, kind of a low end state-run apartment building that gives them housing to keep them off the street while their paperwork goes through. This is 4 stories of just immigrants. My partner and my partner was from Florida. I was from Massachusetts, 2 white dudes. We go walking into this immigrant billet in Rüsselsheim, just maybe a block and a half away from the train station. And yeah, we're going, "Hey, we're looking for Bob." He goes, "Bob?" And somebody yells, "Hey, is Bob here?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think he's upstairs." "Yeah, you guys go up you want." And we're like, "Okay, we'll go up and see him." And we're like, "Hey, you Bob?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Africa Bob." And I'm like, "Oh man, you're exactly the dude we wanted to know who was real." And then lo and behold, the second guy walks up. I think his name was something weird. It was some Englishized like nickname, Englishized version of his African nickname. It was like Lickley or something like that. It was some, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was some weird, hey, we got to introduce. And we're like, hey, you guys want to go grab a beer? And he goes, yeah, we'll meet you downstairs in about 10 minutes. Because they were figuring like, why would two white dudes be on the third floor of this apartment building if they didn't want, some hashish or some other stuff? So yeah, they went down and we stopped at an Nimbus. We were standing there across the street. They saw us. Hey, bought them a beer with our 015 funds. And we got into negotiation. And in minutes, we realized that not only are these guys local dealers, these guys have connections. Because we were like, what can you guys actually deliver? And he goes, oh, we got to get to know you. So like, we got to limit you. And I go, like, to what? And he goes, no, we'll give you like first try. We'll see how it goes. We'll give you like 25 grams. I go, that's nothing, dude. I mean, I got to sell 25 grams in 5 minutes back on post. I'm in it for the money, dude. He goes, yeah, I understand. He goes, yeah, you guys don't partake? I go, no, man, not with my Amos. I'll get in trouble. They piss test us constantly. But man, I need the money. Okay, I just bought a new car. Fucking thing was expensive. He goes, I get it. He goes, well, why don't we try a couple of little things and then we'll see how your customers like our stuff and, we'll move on. So I'm like, okay. So we get into this investigation and in a matter of days, we figure out he's got links to Turks. And the Turks are the ones that are actually importing this stuff, not by the kilo, but by the tens of kilos. And as we were sitting there in the Imbus, we look across the street and we keep seeing soldiers walking in and out. Maybe some of them were in uniform. That was a really stupid part about that. But these guys, even the ones in the civilian clothes, we picked off as Americans real quick. Okay. And we were talking to them maybe a half hour, and we probably saw 12 to 14 GIs go into the building. And we're like, oh, when we report this, the commanders are going to go nuts. But yeah, we ended up doing a couple of small buys. Then we escalated to kilo. And when we got into the kilo range, here come the actual traffickers. Okay. These guys were just immigrants trying to make money. They shouldn't have done it. Okay. But they were in it for the money. They're the one they're in. Yeah, they'll get scooped up in it all, but they're not our real targets. The real targets is the guys who can actually get the raw product from Turkey. And we ran smack into those guys about the third round into this. Okay, so them just going, Antifa's a thing, and we're now declaring war on Antifa. That's not how any of this works. Okay, until the captains and the majors will get intelligence. Then the intelligence will be passed down to our special agent warrant officers, our bosses in the field. Okay. They'll review it. They'll work with us. We'll sit down. And again, this is an elite unit. So, we're all on first name basis. Everybody's got to say, there's no rank structure once you're working these operations. Unless you fuck up or get disrespectful. Yes, a senior CW3 or CW4 will tell you to shut the fuck up if you're being disrespectful, but that's not what we did on at any time on our teams. So we sit down, we come up with a game plan, and then we execute the game plan and we try to gather up the intelligence, move up the chain, and figure out who the real criminals are. Not just the people who are trying to, make money because, they're scraping by, but who's really behind the organized crime. Okay. That's a process. Sometimes that process takes weeks, sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes more than a year. Okay. We had L1 agents. We were considered L2 street level, but we had deep undercover who did 18-month, 2-year, sometimes even longer missions, all for one purpose. Like trying to find whoever the assholes were who were stealing the parts out of the repair depot, shipping them by train in the smallest shippable quantities. They would take them apart and then they put all the parts back together in the Netherlands, and then Netherlands would put it on a boat. And again, from our intelligence officers and our military and German military intelligence, we found out where that gear was going, to Gaddafi in Libya. Okay. So we put in a L1 agent in the factory pretending he was an American citizen born to a German mother, military brat, born and raised in Germany, American citizen because he was born to a GI abroad. So he's an American citizen, but his first language was German. He dresses like a German. He acts like a German. So 4 months before we put him undercover, we actually got him a German apartment, a German ID card, a German passport. We had to work with German Polizei and German military intelligence to get him all the documents, but he became a German citizen with a completely false identity. And he was that 4 months before he was suddenly got a job at the repair depot. And his job was then to infiltrate the group, identify who's involved, and figure out where everything is going. And eventually, over a couple of years, we figured out it was a group of German civilians, and I think one Polish civilian, that were actually ripping off in the conspiracy to rip off the parts. And these are top secret parts, by the way. These are like tank sites. These are classified. Okay, so yeah, everybody involved went to German prison for a long time. Like one guy got like 18 years. Okay, so we figure out a whole thing. How is it getting out of the repair depot? Okay, in this German state. How the fuck is it ending up in Holland? Who in Holland's involved? Because now we got to get the Interpol and the Dutch police and the Dutch military police involved. Okay, because this is weaponry. This is literally weapons trafficking. Okay, then we got to figure out where is it going when it leaves Holland. Well, it was ending up in Libya, which kind of makes sense because Gaddafi was one of the biggest black marketers on the planet. Okay. So anybody who walks into a hearing and goes, "Oh my God, bro, we found somebody and they're the biggest terrorist group. They're just like ISIS." Just the way he acted in the meeting, he is full of shit. He's lying out his ass, and any real cop would slap his bald fucking head for lying like that. And I guarantee you, if I lied like that to my special agent in charge, whether it was in West Germany or here on the West Coast in America, I would have been severely punished. I'd have lost my job, lost my role in the teams, which I had the most elite job you could have as an enlisted. Okay. This was the pinnacle of doing police work in the Army. Okay. I was working for the Army's FBI, basically. Okay. And I had complete authority to do things that many other people did not have the authority to do. Okay. I know how it's done. I know how it's done for real. I know how to work major organizations. Sometimes you get in, sometimes you don't. On the West Coast, we thought we had an in on one of the biggest gangs on the West Coast. We got an undercover agent in there. All of a sudden, we thought it was going good, and we got back to the rally point. The undercover female agent, comes out and she goes, "They got spooked. They won't talk to me. All they wanted to do was hand me a beer and ask me if, I wanted some food." I went, wow, that conversation changed. They got spooked. They know something's up. And I'm like, given the rural location, that could have spotted one of the vehicles, or maybe a neighbor spotted one of us and they just got hinky. Maybe they didn't think she was really involved because they didn't threaten her or anything like that. But these guys were huge. These guys were manufacturing somewhere between liters and decaliters of LSD liquid. Okay. Got so close to them, actually got a person in the room with them. They wouldn't play ball. Okay. We knew, and the only reason we knew to go after them, again, there was a year or so from what particular this group, this was almost a decade of information from sheriff's departments, from the DEA, from the FBI, from ATF. I mean, we had so much intel on these people. But if you think you can just identify a gang or identify a terrorist group overnight because somebody proclaimed that they're doing X, Y, or Z, that's horseshit. I mean, that's no. And the only reason they want to declare Antifa this nebulous ideology of some folks on the left is because they want legal permission or quasi-legal permission to use violent force against them. Why? They won't bend a knee and pay fealty to the wannabe king. Okay? And by the way, like I said, I'm not a liberal, but I know what the kids are talking about when they talk about woke. Okay? The kids aren't wrong. America's got some flaky history. Not all of it went well. Okay? And acknowledging that other people exist and other people weren't treated fairly, that's just factual American history. Now, did some of them take it to a whiny place nobody wanted to deal with and got a little preachy about it? Oh, yeah, there was a lot of that. Okay. Didn't mean essentially they were wrong. Okay. And it also doesn't mean that a loosely held ideology is a terrorist group. That's just so fucking absurd. And, I actually followed a terrorist. That was one of my gigs. Uh, the anti-terrorism team here from the FBI, they asked for extra help because we had a real full-blown domestic terrorist and we had to keep an eye on him. Okay. And if you think we just picked him out of a crowd and went, oh, you're the terrorist. No, we had already connected the stolen explosives to him. We were just waiting for the federal attorney to get a cranky judge to sign the damn search warrant and arrest warrant. But we had to follow the asshole for about 9-10 days, 24/7, because that's how worried we were he would just take one of the stockpiles and commit another aggravated assault or attempted murder or another homicide. Okay. So if you think you can just whip up a wand and say, "Oh, I figured everything out," and Antifa's a terrorist group and they're worse than ISIS, blah, they're making shit up. And what I loved about the hearing, Mr. Thompson, he goes, "You didn't just come to Congress and provide false information. You would never do that, would you?" And he goes, "Ah, hell, you just did." And I love the way he called them out. Okay, because if there's a true criminal threat, let's have a secure hearing and let's describe the threat. Because there are real bad people on Earth. Okay, and there are groups of bad people. The problem is Antifa isn't one of them. Don't believe the hype. That's the point of that one. What else do I want to talk about here? Oh yeah, yeah. The economy. They're hiding all the data, right? We don't have the October data. We just don't have it, which is a major problem. Imagine being the quantitative analysts at Goldman Sachs working the government bond desk, and you have no data to work off of. You gotta all rely on tier two data to manage a desk that may be trading, $1 billion worth of government notes a day. Okay. Same thing. We didn't have it in October. They're going to fucking hide it in November. Why? The numbers are horrible. Absolutely horrible. And you can tell how bad it is because they keep making claims that don't even pass the sniff test. Inflation is zero. I can tell you that's not true. Okay. Or if there is inflation, it's Biden's fault. Biden's sitting on a beach drinking a virgin daiquiri going through freaking cancer treatment. None of this is his responsibility anymore. Are you literally going to go through the whole 4 fucking years and blame Biden and Obama and Hillary, even though she was never president? This is absurd. What you're doing is you're putting up a wall that your stupid little rubes believe that, oh, it's always somebody else's fault. We have a permanent enemy. They're out to get you. It's always somebody else's fault. Only I can save you. Well, how are you going to save me? I can't tell you. I have to hide the data. Well, I thought you said people were doing great. The economy was great. Then he turns around and starts yelling at people in the interview where he gives himself an A plus 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 grade on the economy. Then he immediately starts excoriating American parents for buying too many Christmas gifts. What do you need all those pencils for? Isn't one doll good enough? Meh. Nationalist Ebenezer Scrooge. He goes mental in the interview. Wait a minute. I thought you said we had a good economy. I thought the whole economy was driven by personal choice. The market will decide. Now you're deciding what the market is through anger, grievance, and animus. And then when we say, well, show us how good you're doing. No, I can't do that. I got to hide the data. Okay. They hide the data for an entire quarter. We've got a blind spot in the economy. And if something happens, we'll have no way of having any information to deal with it. Because everything they're fucking doing right now is covering up the criminality of dear leader himself and his street gang. Yes, it's about the Epstein files, but it's also about the insurrection. It's also about 30 plus criminal convictions, felony convictions for dear leader. So now everybody else is guilty. Everybody else is at fault because I have to protect my own ass. How am I going to protect my own ass? Lying through my fucking teeth every day of the goddamn week, or becoming just so juxtaposed you don't even make any sense. How can the economy be doing brilliantly, but then you excoriate parents for spending too much money on Christmas gifts? Okay. And here's how the economy is going to get bad. It's not just health insurance that's going to double. Your natural gas bill is going to double. Depending where you live, your electricity bill is going to almost double. How happy do you think I am having a 10.2 kilowatt hour solar array on the roof? Especially with all my geek gear in the house, pulling electricity, all these high-end computers and all our gadgets. And, I still have, rent's so expensive around here. I just told my two adult sons, just live here. It's fine. It's gigantic house. You got big rooms, knock yourself out, and don't go out and spend $2,400 a month in rent when you don't know when your next paycheck is coming from. The economy is I wouldn't say it's collapsing, but I would also say it ain't doing good. Okay. The stock market continues to do well. Every day I get on my phone and I pull up my portfolio app and I go, oh, wow. Okay. If you're an individual investor or a good EFT investor, yeah, you've been making money all year. Okay. But that's not reflective of what's happening on Main Street. And it can't be. Look at the number of layoffs that have been occurring. Okay. And not just in tech and in government. Trump's Doge firing spree. Oil rigs are laying off now. Okay. We're heading into an oil glut, I understand, from Mr. Global and other sources. So we're heading into a period where the economy is getting twisted. It's still working for the people who actually have their fingers on the controls, but it's not working for almost anybody else. And they want to make it worse. Like this whole thing about firing the federal employees. What they're trying to do is fire them, then rehire back loyalists who don't ever join a federal union. All this stuff about laying people off is about loyalty and destroying the last of the unions. Okay. Because the economy is only supposed to work for one set of people, that top 1%, and those they answer to, the top 0.1%. And the economy is going so bad, he is going to run out Jerome Powell. He's going to put in Kevin Hassett into the Fed chair, and that he is going to become a little clown on a leash for dear leader for the rest of the term. And he is going to do whatever dear leader wants to rate, no matter what they'll do to the economy, including causing massive inflation on top of what we already got going on. Now, after the pandemic, because yes, true, Biden threw too much money in the economy, too much dollars out there, not enough supply, so inflation kicked in. So the inflation's been coming back down slowly. But all the shit that Trump's doing is making it go right back up. Okay. That's why you're not going to see the November economic and labor data. Sure, you'll have some ADP data. Okay. You'll have some other survey data, but you won't have that gold standard data set that we use to actually determine what the heck's going on in the economy. That's going to be hidden from you. It's going to be hidden from the bankers and the traders. Okay. It's going to be hidden from the state houses. They're not going to know what to put the state money towards to fix what problems because they don't have a gauge about what the economy is doing. And nothing can be dangerous. You can't run a $22 trillion a year economy on a whim or on grievance and animus and feels of a dementia patient who's out of control. Well, at least out of control narcissism. What the hell did I mean on that one? It's bad when you can't read your own writing. Oh, yeah. Um, Mangione, the guy that whacked the United Health CEO in New York. He's got a massive defense attorney. She's good. Karen from Legal AF. I don't know if you've seen her talk about the law. I'm a big fan of her. She's one smart attorney. Okay. Yeah, she's a former prosecutor. She used to be number two prosecutor in Manhattan. Now she's his defense attorney, and she's already finding out that the police really screwed up this case. Um, Searching a backpack, claiming you thought there was a bomb in it. Okay. Another thing I've actually done in real life, found bombs. They're fun. I hate bombs. Okay. Found two in Germany, one in America. Chemical explosive, a firebomb, and a wired extinguisher as a pressure bomb. Three types of bomb, but I found three. Um, they say that when they found him in the McDonald's in Pennsylvania, they had to search his backpack, not for a weapon that could be used against them, but they thought it had a bomb in it. Okay. Let me give you some safe salient advice as a person who hates bombs, but has worked with Navy ordnance disposal enough. We didn't have an army disposable team close enough to us. So when I was in Germany, we used the Polizei EOD team. When I was on the West Coast, we used the Navy team. So I've worked with both EOD squads. Um, Reaching your hand blindly into a bag you think has a bomb in it is probably the stupidest fucking thing you could have chose to do. Because if you thought there was a bomb in it, you should have evacuated the McDonald's, let the package sit there. It was a backpack, but whatever the package happens to be, and you get everybody the fuck away from it. And you let the professionals, the EOD professionals, do what they do. You, just a standard B cop, do not go fishing around a bag looking for a loose wire to detonate a bomb or a grenade or a stick of dynamite or a pipe bomb, whatever is in the fucking bag, or they are claiming or actually thinking. I think it was more of a claim than actually thinking there was a bomb in there. Um, but if they're going to go to court and tell a judge that the reason they did a search beyond weapons to secure their safety and the other people in the McDonald's restaurant, and they literally started fishing into a bag, which they probably should have gotten a search warrant for, better, they should have let the FBI get the search warrant because the FBI was already leading the case at that point. Instead, they stuck their arm in the bag. Oh my God, I'm looking for a bomb. Oh my God, there could be a bomb in here. Um, Jesus Christ, no, no, no. We had a guy back in the day, robbing banks. To delay the search for the suspect, he would leave a little bomb on the counter after he did a robbery. Okay. I got dispatched to the bank. One of the banks he did was the first officer there. I asked the bank manager to come out. We never walk into the bank. We always talk to somebody first. We do that IPC skill thing to make sure that they're not telling us something. There's maybe the gunman hiding in the bank. He's got a hostage. He's waiting to sucker us in to shoot us and possibly shoot the hostages as well. So I tell the dispatcher, have the manager come out. Okay. And I want the manager to do specific things when she comes out. So I get her away. I still have view of the door and the scene. I got backup officers doing the 4-point containment and trying to figure out what happened. And very quickly, not my first time dealing with a bank manager, so it was very quickly to check the emotions and other psychological body cues that would tell me that something's gone wrong in the bank. It was very quick, and she goes, "I think we have a bigger problem this time." And I go, "What's it?" "There's a package on the counter." And I'm like, "Okay, so let me go through my questions and my evaluation here." I go, "Okay, I want you to walk back into the bank, and I want you to tell your bank tellers to walk out of the building single file with their hands away from their bodies. Okay. We're going to identify each one. We know who you are, but I don't know who the bank tellers are. We're going to identify each one. Then we're going to do a quick cursory search of the bank to make sure the suspect's not still in there. And then I'm going to have to deal with this package." So in that order, you know, Notice how I said I just didn't walk in the bank and go, "Hey, what's this? I'm looking for a bomb. Let's see what this bomb is. Oh, wow, look at this." No, no. It's a procedural order of human safety, officer safety. Once you have the scene secured, then you deal with the package. Okay. My radio's off. I'm at a safe distance. So my metal on my gun belt and stuff, if there's a magnetic switch on the thing, it doesn't set it off. So I'm checking this thing out. I'm going, it looks real enough to me. Okay. And again, I'm not a bomb expert. I don't work for EOD, ordnance disposal. Okay. Get out of the bank, turn the radio back on, tell the dispatcher, get Navy EOD here as fast as you can. This is a code 3 request. Because we have a device on the counter. This is not the first time the suspect did it. He did it a couple of cities north a few weeks before that. And we need the experts here. So they get here. First thing they wanted to do, I think I talked about this before, Polaroid back in the day used to donate a lot to law enforcement. One of the cool things they donated was to the EOD teams. We had the evidence Polaroids where they could do one-to-one photographs because they had a frame and the distances and the throw was all figured out. So the size of the object in the Polaroid would be the real world size, that sort of thing. Well, one of the cooler things they gave to law enforcement was they gave X-ray Polaroids to EOD. So they walked in with this big box made by Polaroid Labs, and they went flash, and they could see inside the bomb. And the EOD tech, a E6, Master Chief E9 was the head of the EOD detail. But the tech came out in the Michelin Man outfit with the camera thing, takes it out. We wait for the X-ray photo to develop, and it looks like a bomb. All the components look bomby. Okay. So then the Master Chief goes, let's blow it open. They got a railroad tie, and it's got a 12-gauge shotgun welded to it. And you fire a 12-gauge shotgun that has only wadding in it. Okay. Because the force of the wadding, we don't want to set the bomb off. We just want to blow the exterior of the bomb apart so we can see inside of it to see if it's real or not. So we send the warning. We tell dispatch, we put out neighborhood alert that we're going to try to open up the package, but we could detonate it. So there could be a big boom boom. Shotgun goes off, opens the package up, no detonation. Okay. Michelin helmet back on. You saw Hurt Locker, you know what the Michelin Man outfit looks like. Not a bomb. It just looks like a bomb because even I thought it was a bomb. So he comes walking out with a package. He goes, yeah, this is not C4 or gunpowder or anything. This is just a plastic clay. And he goes, this is not a bomb. He goes, it looks really real, but it ain't a bomb. Okay. That's how you deal with a bomb. You don't stick your hand in the bag and go, I wonder what's in here. No, you don't do that. So yeah, this hot lawyer, she's top of her game, man. She's super smart. She brought that up in the prelims and the evidence suppression hearing. So I'm worried that the cops didn't do a very good job on this guy. And it may open up a door to having some evidence thrown out on him. Yeah, I know the healthcare companies in this country are really nefarious. Some of the executives are true scumbags. Walking up and murdering someone in the middle of the street is not actually the solution. Okay, so this whole, turning this Luigi guy into a folk hero, that's the left version of the domestic terrorists from the Olympics in Atlanta. What the hell was his name? Richard something? No, that was the security guard. They blamed. Yeah, the FBI blamed the security guard. It wasn't the security guard. This was a white nationalist, far right terrorist who had already attacked several places, a bar, a medical clinic, and then he blew up the party section at the Atlanta Olympics. And he fled Georgia, and he ended up in the North Carolina woods. And the rednecks in that district kind of supported him and kept him away from the FBI for years. He was getting help for years. Finally, kind of his folklore luster fell off, and just a local cop found him foraging through a dumpster for food. He had lost like 35 pounds. He looked emaciated. You could tell he probably hasn't been getting much help, much food, a good place to sleep, that sort of thing. And he just wandered into town to forage for food, and that's how he got caught. But the right with this domestic terrorist at the Atlantic Olympic bombing, yeah, they folklored the shit out of that guy. A lot of people on the left are folkloring Luigi in the same way. Both incidents, the fanboy shit was wrong. Okay. I want to make sure Luigi gets convicted, but he gets convicted following the law and procedure. Okay. And I'm worried that the cops did not do a massively good job there. They may have made some critical errors that could put some of the evidence in jeopardy. I don't think it will put the total case in jeopardy, but it will definitely put some very pointed reviews on some evidence. And the easiest way around that was stop making up stupid little excuses that no judge will buy, and every defense attorney, good defense attorney, will pick out as a problem. And you just wait, you just clear the area, leave the backpack in the seat or on the ground, wherever it was in the McDonald's. You evacuate, you secure the building, you let the FBI show up, you let the bomb team show up, you do it ABC. Your evidence is perfect. No, it's never going to get thrown out. It's the thing I keep seeing with this generation of officers. They keep shortcutting things like search warrants or affidavits for search warrants. Breonna Taylor, that was not a truthful affidavit. That was wrong. The negligent homicide was even worse. But you get a problem this generation. They think because A or B or C happens, whether it's 9/11 or the Boston Marathon bombings or whatever, they no longer have to follow law and procedure. Well, if you don't follow law and procedures, then these guys are not going to get convicted. Okay. And Luigi's a murderer. He's a cold-blooded murderer. Yeah, I get the problems with healthcare. I still don't think shooting a guy in the back 3 times is a way to solve it. Okay, so don't folklore this shit. And cops, start doing a better fucking job, will you? Okay, like so few of my cases over 14 years ever got dismissed over shit like this. Yeah, sometimes you get just a stupid judicial ruling. Yeah, I get it, but you know, not letting the FBI do their job, not properly finding, disabling, securing the bomb, not getting the search warrant. This is all a stream of things where kind of spells that they could have fucked up here. So yeah, guys, do better. Where I want to wrap it up tonight is I want to talk about burnout. I know we're in a horrible situation right now. It's not good. My son came out. He was writing. I think he was working on his book. He came out and he goes, "Dad, do you see what Trump just did to the International Crimes Court?" I go, "Oh God, what is it today?" I go, "I haven't seen that story today. I've been looking, but I hadn't seen that particular story." He tells me like, yeah, he basically wants to get out of the International Crimes Court program and get out of the international law treaties that we have signed and basically ignore the International Crime Court. I'm going like, well, the guy's is so unoriginal. No, I mean, he isn't the first guy to think about this. Putin has said this. I think Netanyahu's goons have said this. Crazy dictators like Idi Amin didn't like the International Crimes Court. So when you have a guy that's like, I need permissions to commit war crimes and human rights crimes, we're in a bad spot. When you have an official, a Senate confirmed cabinet member who is literally flaunting the law, flaunting Congress's oversight, we have a problem. The economy is a problem. We're going to have a rough 2026. Like, it's so tough. I'm struggling to figure out what I have to do with my investments. I'm getting older. I can't afford to lose 20 or 30% of my portfolio because dear leader is fucking over the economy with tariffs and destroying tourism. And that's going to be the 2026 problem is a lot of areas, which includes a whole bunch of different locales, everything from rural places like, Dollyland in Missouri, San Francisco. It's one of its biggest part of its GDP is tourism. Same thing for New York, same thing for Miami. And when you're just telling people not to come here, you're destroying local and regional chunks of the economy. And they're big chunks. Like a third of the economy in San Francisco is tourism or tourism related. Okay. But I know it's been tough. Um, but whatever happens, we have to persevere. It's not an option to give up. We give up, Stephen Miller and Ross Vaught get their way. Okay. Now, how we support ourselves, keep our head on straight, support our family and friends, that's a tougher question. Because I even see myself getting somewhere between frustrated and sad to really angry about where the direction under dear leader has taken the country, our society, our governance, our culture, the American way of life. It's all being distorted. He's even distorting Christianity itself. It's nice to see some of the Christians standing up and going, "Hey, that's not our faith. That's not our sex understanding of the Bible." And it's good to see, and I talked about this, the old preacher in Texas is if you think your faith is in with a politician, you're not a Christian. You should just find the door and exit right now. Gray hair, silver haired, 79-year-old Texas, evangelical preacher saying, if you think Jesus isn't your savior, but Donald Trump is, there's the door. Okay. Just remember a couple of things about Trump. He's a huckster. He is a true huckster. Okay. Everything he's doing it to get your goat. When you read through, if you read the entire Project 2025, like I did, several times, the whole document is to bum rush you, overwhelm you, and get you to surrender. Get entire agencies and branches of government to surrender to a cult and a cult mission. It's extraordinarily dangerous. So, all the things about keeping your head on straight, you got to double check that right now. I've had problems since the accident in 2007 with sleep. So when all this stuff starts going through your head, you got to remember that, I have to remember that, sleep's already a problem. Do you want to be racking this shit through your head at 2:00 in the morning? Try to avoid that. Try to find some waking hours where you can address an important issue. You get ready for the upcoming midterm elections. Like I'm saying, you got to get out and vote, but you got to know your issues too. So you've got to get someone into this game. It's an awful, ugly, stupid game right now, but you got to be in the game at some level. Even if it's just one or two issues that you've studied and well, and you build a well-educated, well-informed, well-read opinion about, that's good. Okay. But do it in a healthy way that allows you to keep moving forward. Okay. And the thing I keep bringing up in my own mind is like my mother-in-law surviving World War II in Berlin and having to grow up in the near apocalyptic wasteland that Germany. Everybody bombed Germany. Germany was a waylaid nation when Germany finally fell. Okay. We literally leveled cities in, not just us, the Russians, the British. We leveled cities in Germany, leveled them. People understand like Dresden was bombed. No, Dresden was fucking leveled. There wasn't anything left of Dresden after the attack. We burned it to the fucking ground. somehow, even as a little baby, little girl, my mother-in-law found a way to persevere, to live a long, happy life. She's in her 80s now. She's still kicking. She's still doing great. Still has a great head on her shoulders. Okay. That's what I kind of remind myself is everything comes in cycles. Yes, we're going through a horrible time, but people have gone through worse. My mother-in-law grew up after World War II in a half bombed out Berlin apartment where the front wall was missing. They had to put up sheets and canvas to have a pretend wall, and they had to share the apartment with another family because there were so many apartments that were destroyed in the war. They didn't not have enough housing for everybody, so most apartments were multifamily housing. And of course, you didn't know it wasn't like your uncle or something. It was just another random family. The government said, "Hey, you two live here now. Stay indoors, stay warm at night, and try not to die." Massive food shortages after the war. That's why she still hates cod liver oil, because all the kids had to take cod liver oil, and they had a little packet of meat for the kids on Sunday in cod liver oil to make sure they got the protein, the base nutrients they needed, so they wouldn't grow up disabled or deformed. Um, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough until not only that dear leader goes away, we have to change the momentum of an era. I've talked a little bit about this before. We're going to have to go into a phase just like our parents and grandparents had to do when Nixon bounced. We're going to have to go up into a cleanup phase and make sure government actually works again. Because right now it's not working. It's working at such a minimal level. It scares me. When you have most of Congress there simply as tourists taking in money through campaign donation and lobbyist dinners and trips and bribes and everything else. And think about the federal government. Federal government employs millions of people, even after the Doge layoffs. It employs millions of people. The only people we have say in the federal government is those 530-ish people who work in Congress. They're the only federal employees we get to hire. Okay. So understand that, you keeping a good frame of mind, understanding that we all are dealing with stress. We all don't like this. This is all a terrible time, mostly based on total nationalist bullshit. Okay. The reality is in front of our eyes. We got to get rid of dear leader. We got to get rid of his goombas. We got to get better people in Congress. And we got to make sure that we are on the other end of this. Nothing is more important to me than perseverance. Tomorrow is always another day. Okay. Because is Trump going to react to this tariff decision that's going to go way against him? In probably more than one horrible way, yes. Will they try to refute the courts on the immigration arrest, including violating the temporary restraining order that says you can't rearrest Garcia again? Yes, they're going to act out to play to their base, because mania and grievance and animus, they all speak that language. Like, I watch a lot of CNBC. Occasionally, I watch some Fox News to see what those darks are doing over there. I mostly watch Fox News through Decoding Fox News here on Substack. Great channel, by the way. Highly recommend her. I chat with her every once in a while through notes. Her best thing is she voices over some of the more stupid, ignorant things that dear leader says, so you don't have to hear his voice. It's actually good. It's kind of funny. I'm sick and we're all sick and tired of the same stuff. We're sick and tired of him just shitting on women. I'm sorry. If you talk to a woman like that in a bar in West Germany in 1984, you're going to get pig piled. Everybody's in to beat your ass. The Americans, the Germans, the Belgians, the Dutch, the French, the British expats living there. Oh, maybe a couple, even some neutral Swiss. They'll jump into the fight too. Yeah. Go ahead and tell a woman she's a stupid bitch and say quiet piggy in a bar in West Germany in 84. You're going to get punched in the face. Okay. I saw a guy get put in the hospital because he called one of our mechanics a stupid bitch. I wasn't involved in that one. I was merely a spectator in that one. When the investigation came down, I said, "Hey, I was talking to a girl. I didn't even see it till it was over. There's no way I was getting involved in that one." Yeah, they fucked this guy up. Okay. We're all sick of it. We're all sick of the projections of animus and grievance as the law and as the reason for their actions. We're all sick of it. Just don't lose yourself, the self, in this morass. Okay. Because I do believe we can get out of this. It'll be hard, but I do think we can get out of this. And I think the biggest thing that's bolstering my spirits right now is the special elections. When you're seeing the kind of shifts you're seeing in the districts, you're seeing those shifts. They just lost Miami, Florida. The mayor has been least a capital C conservative, if not a capital N nationalist for the last 30, 32 years. They just hired a liberal Democrat. Good for them. Kind of wished it was an independent, but also know the polling and the election realities. Okay. Hey, it's not a nationalist and it's not some Goomba who's just going to answer to Trump. Then I'm all for it. Okay. Because I don't mind that she's a liberal Democrat in Miami. Because if I lived in Miami, I know that the conversation now can continue. Maybe even some good political arguments and some good political discourse could continue. Why? Because I'm not dealing with a fucking nationalist. Nationalists and commies do not give a shit about what anybody else's thinks. They do not care. They're in the game for one purpose: concentration of power. And when you literally have concentrated your power so much, you literally think you can write laws and then adjudicate your own actions, we're not in a good space. And it doesn't help that you have a whole ecosphere online. Some of them, unfortunately, have shown up on my pages and on my live sessions that that support, you know what I'm talking about, the Candace Owen bullshit, the Tim Pool bullshit. Okay, the fact that Tim Pool was in the White House press corps room makes me want to puke. Okay. The fact that Benny Johnson's in not just in the press room, but he's also in advisory council positions. Like, this is the weirdest thing about the regime right now. Every Goomba has got 2, 3, 4 roles, 4 titles, 6 jobs. Why? Because Trump thinks they'll carry his water, and they will. And they will. But the good news is special elections. The other good news, Brazil just threw Bolsonaro in prison for 27 years. Sarkozy just went to jail in France. Good for him. Oh, Bangladesh just arrested their former president. Corruption. Okay. We know it can be done. Oh, another great, glorious bit of news. Literally the second Trump pardoned the narco kingpin Jose Hernandez, the former president of Honduras. Honduras submitted warrants to Interpol. He is rearrestable on site. He leaves America, he's under arrest. Okay. And there's plenty of countries that are willing to execute that arrest warrant. Like, there's no way Hernandez can go to France, Spain, Italy, Ireland, Denmark. He'll be arrested at the airport 6 feet off the airplane. That's how quick they'll put him in custody. Okay. So we're not dealing, when I'm bringing all this stuff is, we're not dealing with this unsurmountable monolith that we can't overcome. What I'm saying is, it's going to take a lot of work, not only to get over this false front they put up, this monolithic facade they've put up. But then we've got the hard work to do. We've got the repair and reparation period to go through. Because we're going to have to compensate these people who got their ass kicked by ICE for no goddamn reason. That's just a civil rights violation, and the government's responsible for it. Unfortunately, it's the taxpayer who has to pay the bill. Okay. Also, good news. I even heard this from one of my friends on the other side of the bay. He goes, "Yeah, I had a friend, man. He's really gotten deep in this shit, and and I know him for years." He goes, "I've known the guy for almost 30 years." And all of a sudden, I got a text message from him. How much of this shit isn't true? My friend really copies the text and sends it to me. He goes, "We got one." Like Ghostbusters, we got one. So some people are starting to turn. There's even support groups out there that are helping people deprogram themselves or get into a deprogramming therapy group session. Because I think even though group didn't work for me, didn't work for anybody I went to the veterans event with, one of the Navy SEALs asked the question in the veteran event, how many people's been to group? All the Marine Raiders and RDF guys, the 2 Army guys, me, the SEALs, we all raised our hand. Yeah, we all been to group. How many people were helped by group? Everybody puts their hands down. But I think group may help the deprogramming because they have to hear it from the birds of a feather. Okay. The polling is shifting. When you see Florida polling districts moving by double digits and they don't have anything going on right now, something's up. Okay. And then the economic factors. Trump has lost. I put up a meme I created. It was a render. Trump going down the hill while the wheels are coming off the cart. I put it up on notes yesterday or the day before. Trump has completely lost 18 to 29. Completely lost them. The shift is 56 points. You don't have a 56-point shift and then win elections with that group. Okay. The kids coming up out of high school, getting out of college or getting out of grad school, they're coming into an economy they can't afford. 49% of them are borrowing money from their savings just to get through their day to day. Okay. You think they're going to vote for Trump and his tariffs? No. This is the one that scared me. Overall, not just the 18 to 29, but overall, 47% of the survey respondents said they cannot afford to take a vacation that involves an airline flight. How many airline executives, CFOs, etc., shit a brick when they read that survey? If they didn't, they're in a coma. They don't understand their business. Okay, yeah, seniors are the ones that spend the most money. Why? Because we make the most money in our 40s and 50s, and then when we get close to 60s, we get a bunch of cash in hand. The kids have moved out, or the kids are self-sufficient. A lot of kids still live with us. Like my kid, 2 or 3 of my kids still live with us because rent's so fucking high. And I don't mind because we have a huge house. But they don't have anything. They're in an economy where they can't afford to get ahead. Not just home ownership. They can't afford the basics. They can't afford the day-to-day. They can't afford a flight to a rock festival. Which, I mean, that sucks. I mean, I almost bought Rush tickets in Chicago if I could find them. They all ended up on fucking StubHub in 10 seconds. I was so pissed. I did get tickets to Rush in San Jose. My buddy got them, and he immediately called me and goes, "You're in, right?" I go, dude, of course I'm in. You know I'm the world's biggest Rush fan. So I get to go see him in San Jose. But I was going to fly to Chicago to see him, or Toronto, because I had friends in both cities. I would just buy tickets and say, "Hey, friends, show up. We'll all go out. We'll get dinner or lunch, and we'll go see a great prog show." I can't imagine that we've created an economy so impoverished that you can't afford to go out for a weekend to another city in America. Because if they can't fly in America, they're definitely not going to Mexico, Europe, Tahiti, Japan, Malaysia. Um, Malaysia's really big with a bunch of my friends and colleagues. For some reason, well, I know a lot of people love Malaysia and keep going there. Malaysia and Thailand. Um, well, if all those vacation dollars and all those travel dollars are being eaten up by day-to-day expenses, the whole hospitality, tourism, and airline industry is in a bunch of trouble. Okay. But since we know that's happening and we know the sub 30 group has already turned on this regime, that adds a little light to the end of the tunnel. Just a little bit, but it's there. And it's up to us to help those kids move forward because frankly, they deserve something better. I'm not talking about socialism. I'm not talking about welfare. I'm talking about an economy that fucking works for most people, if not all people. We have an economy that only works for 1% of the economy. Few of us are getting by. If you're in, I don't think the top quintile, I think the top quintile is even split now. The quintiles of the 20% segmentation. I think the top 20% is completely split. If you're not in the top 10%, you probably have some money concerns, if not problems. If you're outside of the top quintile, you're in trouble. And I think the only reason my wife and I are okay is because we saved so much money over the years. We assumed Social Security wasn't going to be there. If it is, great. That's just extra money when we retire. But we have enough money to retire without Social Security. Plus, we have working capital cash. Okay. I know that's not the case for many people. And I know the reason it is for us is because I happen to work in the tech industry. I happen to work for a big tech firm. I got quarterly bonuses. My pay was so high, I didn't even have to budget my bonuses. I could spend my bonuses on whatever I wanted. Um, well, that's my old Christmas gift. That's a 2001 Texas Special Stratocaster. That was a Christmas gift for my wife way back when. But I have another guitar, a Nita Strauss stage guitar. Nita Strauss from Alice Cooper, Iron Maidens, her solo work. LA Rams games. You see her on the TV playing at the football halftime. I have her stage guitar, $2,000. Just bought that on a whim because I had bonus money. Okay, but I know I'm in a position that most of America's not in. I think we need to fix the economy so we can get to the point where economic viability is something that every American can trust they can achieve. Okay. To get there, again, we got a lot of work to do. We got to get rid of Trump. We got to recycle Congress. We got to get people in Congress who are serious about serving America, not serving themselves. We need to reform the War Powers Act. We need to reform the way pardons are dealt with. Okay. We definitely need to take a lot of the emergency powers and put them back into review because they are just so easily abused. We need to repair the damage that's being done by the right-wing nationalists in education, in arts, in science, in medicine, in research. Ton of stuff to do. But keep your head in a good space. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of your family and your friends. Like I check on my friends regularly. I have a good circle of close friends, and every once in a while I reach out and say, "How you doing?" I know the news has been pretty bad, and a couple of my friends follow it very closely. Talk a lot about it with my sons, and tell them the same thing. We got to keep on working to a common goal, a goal to make everything better for as many people as we can, and we need to get this oligarchic crap period behind us. Decisions should not be being made by a handful of people because it serves their own self-interest. Okay. We need to get rid of the people who would just shine us on and give us slogans, not solutions. Did a whole video on the 50-year mortgage thing. The 50-year mortgage is total bullshit. It will destroy the housing market as we know it. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Keep strong, keep healthy, stay aware, keep track of those important issues to you. Make sure you can vote coherently in the midterms. Make sure you know exactly who you're voting for. And in your 1, 2, or 3 button issues, make sure you know exactly not just where they stand on the issue, what actions they're willing to take on the issues. Like I can tell you, I will not vote for anybody of any stripe who is unwilling to impeach Supreme Court justices for bribery. Alito and Thomas at least have to go. Oddly, I can deal with Gorish, and I think Comey Barrett, even though I think she is a true right winger, I don't think she's as bad as I originally thought. She's horrible on Roe v. Wade. I understand that because that was the bargain. But I think on other things, it may not be as bad as I thought. So, anyways, be prepared. We still got a ways to go. The self is very important. Be strong in health, be strong of mind, be strong of family, be strong of friends. We'll get through this. Okay. And I'll repeat this again. America's still worth fighting for. As fucked up as we are, still worth it. So be strong, be independent, vote independent, run for local office as an independent, serve on juries. When you get this jury summons, call in, get on a jury. Okay. Talked about that the other day. If you got a good CV, a good resume, or a professional, apply for the grand juries. I'm applying for both the county and the state grand jury in January. Okay. So think about it. Think about yourself. Think about your family. And think about staying strong. We got a lot of work to do in the future. Okay. Until next time, please think about it.